some profit to be got from this line. So now I'm not going to sit down here and think that all the experts and intellectuals and security people and all the government people in Sokoto have never heard of that before. So instead, I'll ask the question, under what circumstances, as far as you can tell, does a constituted authority elect to, well, consider negotiating with the bad guys? Is there something that they know that we don't?
All right, thank you once again. Yes, conventionally you don't negotiate with terrorists. However, our insecurity in this part of the world, here in Nigeria, is multidimensional. I give you an instance. In Zamfara State, when we had the former governor of Zamfara State, His Excellency Matawale Mohammed Bello, when he heads sway between 2019 to 2023, he identified the problems, some of the issues bordering the states, ranging from banditry, youth restiveness, and all of that. And he was able to, call all stakeholders on board, using the stick and carrot approach, where he was able to tell the youth and say, look, this is our state. We must first have, a Zamfara state before we can talk about politics. And at the end of the day, he succeeded, in achieving that goal. Between that 2019 to 2023, before he left office, May 29, 2023, you see that, schools resumed back in Zamfara State. We see students going back to schools. Banks were okay, not like banks were closing 3 p.m., 2 p.m. again. The road was now okay. There was no fear. And unfortunately, even the current governor of Zamfara State then was engaging the governor on a bad light for, empowering the youth, now drop their hands, and making sure that the governor lose grips of his seat at the time. Today, the same governor who criticized this former governor, his predecessor, for using the stick and carrot approach, he's crying foul because he has failed to utilize the security votes just like his predecessor did years back. So you see, when we begin to weaponize terrorism, weaponize insecurity for political campaigns and all of that, it becomes a problem, and it begins to give us reasons that some of these guys are even our number one suspect. I've encouraged the Zamfara State Governor, His Excellency Lawal Dauda, to apologize to even Zamfara State, because not until last week when he was saying he was going to have, meetings with bandits, or because all the things he castigated his predecessor for putting in place was the thing he's trying to do now. Because when he came on board, he relaxed all of these measures, and then that insecurity has returned back to Zamfara State. He's crying foul to various, agencies of government that they need help. And it baffles me that these governors who are aware that there are issues on ground to solve, even when their predecessors have tried to solve those issues, they will fail to utilize their security votes. When they come on board, they try to feel like nothing has been done. In Zamfara State, between 2019 and 2023, you recall that peace, no mercy returned. But from 2023 to today, according to Amnesty International, over 2,000 persons have been killed, with 500 persons abducted. Killings are still ongoing. And today you will say you want to go back to what you castigate. So I think this is even a national embarrassment. And I wonder what government or the president is going to be doing in sanctioning people like this. First, you need to apologize to the people of Zamfara State. First, he has to seek for self-repentance. And again, he has to apologize to Mr. President, because he's bringing, a national disgrace and insult to our security, our conventional security, because all that was supposed to be in place, that the people were supposed to enjoy in peace, were the things he came and relaxed on. He's now not using the security votes, and this is why I continue to call on the EFCC to begin to now investigate state governors on the utilization of security votes. Unfortunately, they will tell you that they have immunity. Immunity that people will be killed, nothing will be done. Immunity that people will be abducted, nothing will be done. So even in the case of Benue, I give you an instance. What was done years back, like the anti-open grazing law, the governor relaxed it. When there's a problem today, the same governor now is asked and charged to go and begin to implement the strategies of what the anti-open grazing law is all about. Now, is it when over 200 persons have been killed? Is it when people are being killed on a daily basis? Just yesterday in Okpoku, people were kidnapped. So this is the situations of the state governors. And the state governors continue to hide under the umbrella of them not having the capacity, not having charge over the formations of the Nigerian army, the police, the DSS, and all of that. But they are aware of all these challenges before they took, oath of office. They were still aware of these challenges before they even decide to come into politics. Why don't you say, wait, because of these challenges, I cannot actually venture into politics. So changing the goalpost when giving, power should be an automatic resignation in a sane society. But because of the understanding of Mr. President most times, and being a father, he give them more time for them to work on themselves. If not so, I don't think this governor, like in the Zamfara State Governor, Governor La Dauda, should still be in power. Look at the embarrassment. Look at the people. Look at the killings going on in the state today. The same thing he castigated the former governor of is the same thing he wants to approach. And unfortunately, he's approaching it to the wrong dimension. Look at what he did. Going to Katsina State, that he wanted to go and have a meeting. The Katsina State government have refuted that news that there was no time they had a meeting with bandits for any reasons. There was no time they had a meeting with terrorists to come and negotiate. He's on his own. That's what the state government have said in Katsina to Zamfara State. But the Zamfara State governor, for propaganda, continued to say that he's actually having a meeting with bandits in Katsina State. So the whole thing that his predecessor did in relaxing, which ordinarily should be the right way, that is not actually negotiation. He identified the problems and see that this is the solution. That when these youth are empowered, they will become the source of intelligence arsenal to the communities. They also become a form of defense to the communities. And he was able to make them to understand that there must be Zamfara State first before we can have anything government. There must be Zamfara State first before we can talk about anything personal interest. There must be Zamfara State first before we can settle our differences. But for political reasons, one thing or the other, this governor continued to engage the then governor of Zamfara State in a bad light. And so I think God has a way of also rewarding every individual. What he also used in castigating this predecessor is what he is also failing today to handle.
Okay, but as you know the situation in Sokoto, where they are saying that they are considering, I guess maybe that was written very carefully. Like the statement doesn't say that they actually in the middle of it or that it has taken off, but that they are considering. And from what you've been telling me, do I get the impression that you are saying it can be the right way to go, depending on the circumstances? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I have told you that our cases are multidimensional. Perhaps what is happening maybe in Zamfara State could be, an uprising, right? And if not well handled, can now, grow from that level to become banditry, kidnapping, and all of that, right? And so what could be happening in Zamfara State is different from what is happening in Benue State. What is happening in Sokoto State could be different from what is happening in Zamfara State. But in the case of Sokoto State, which you were talking about, I don't think any sensible government will want to negotiate with terrorists, right? And so they must identify the root causes and solve it at the way it's supposed to be solved. And that's why I gave you clearly an example of the former Zamfara State Governor, His Excellency, former Governor Bello Matawale Muhammad, for adopting that stick and carrot approach, for bringing it side by side. What are the problems? What is the issues? How do we solve the problem? What is it? drop your arms. We are ready to work together. And for the youth who are not engaged, be engaged positively, legitimately, be gainfully employed. If you go to Zamfara State, you don't see youth hardly. Youth you don't see maybe on in their shops. If you don't see them maybe on the roadside with the keke napep, they are in their farms. So all of them have been employed and be engaged in doing one thing or the other, and has also been empowered. That is a way to solve the problem, because one of the root causes of insecurity is joblessness, hopelessness, lack of education, and when the people feel an upward cheat from the government to the grassroots. So that is some of the issues that leads to insecurity. Yes, insecurity may not entirely end, because as life continues, we will have our different interests, we have different thoughts towards issues. And so it depends on what is your problem. You just take it back to your family. Perhaps the challenges you have in your family may not be the same challenges another person has in his own family. The challenges I may have in my family may not be the same. The challenge may not be the same challenge I have in my family. Perhaps my son wants to keep his hair. Perhaps your own son don't want to keep his hair. So it depends. What is the challenge? That is why I say these issues are peculiar to some of these regions, right? So if Sokoto State is having banditry and they want to tell them, they want to negotiate, which I do not actually see it's the right pattern, because even those when we talk about repentant Boko Haram, that has not actually, give a positive result in solving the problems. So you must identify the root causes, go to the natives where the natives are concentrated, know their problems. But unfortunately, because some of these governors don't want to utilize their security vote, they will want to, weaponize insecurity, and then want to seek for more donations. Right, so the governors knows the problems in their various states, but unfortunately, they'll begin to shift the goalpost when the problems begin to happen. Right, so that is why I encourage the current governor of Zamfara State to apologize to the people, because he has unfortunately failed the people, and by relaxing all that was put on ground to solve the problems. Between 2019 to 2023, like I mentioned earlier, insecurity in Zamfara State was drastically reduced. Right, people were living their life freely. But because he came on board and was ashamed to not sustain the legacy of his predecessor because of what he has actually condemned earlier, and now he didn't result, he relaxed all that was put in place, and then insecurity was up.
Okay.
Forgetting the fact that governance is about continuity. Right. So
I hear you, sir.
Problem, and that's just the summary of the whole thing. There's a problem.
Okay. I hear you, Dr. Noja, but I still am a bit bothered by the fact that the Sokoto instance that we're talking about now, even though I understand that the topic has been generalized a bit, but the Sokoto instance that gave rise to our program this morning, where a special advisor to Governor Ahmed Aliyu, Colonel Ahmed Usman, retired, made this announcement. It's like we remember that this has been tried before with varying degrees of success. I think El-Rufai has sworn never to go there again after he said he tried it when he was governor, and they turned around to betray his trust. We're just talking about other instances. So my concern is, how can anyone trust these guys who by definition are outlaws? They are operating outside the law. So where do we get, I mean, this is coming from, the ordinary perspective, non-professional perspective. What can we trust, what collateral do we have? How can we trust them that they will indeed abide by whatever the agreements are? Since by definition they are outlaws, they can simply say, okay, you know what, we no agree again. So this seems to be the concern. Where have they suddenly got these non-state actors, let's put it like that, where do they get their credibility from for government to sit down at the table with them?
Please put your question again. Let me get you clear, please.
I was wondering what you think about the credibility of the other partner in negotiating with these non-state actors, aka terrorists, bandits. Based on what? They can just simply decide that, you know what, I don't like the whole thing again, I'm not doing it again.
You know, like I've mentioned, I won't see any sensible government that we want to negotiate with terrorists. If you look at the current administration of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you know, he has made it expressly known to all the governors and including the head of our security traditional chiefs. He has made it known to them that, look, gentlemen, go after these guys, get them out, and I am not ready to negotiate. Before now, we used to have some clerics that goes into the bush to negotiate with bandits. We don't see that anymore because the current leadership of His Excellency, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, do not actually take that as a method of any security. Rather, he feels like you are encouraging insecurity the more. However, he has at different times, you know, advised Nigerians and even the state governors that they should, you know, imbibe in the culture of peace, you know, negotiate with, not with bandits. Rather, they should bring an ADR, an alternative dispute resolution, within stakeholders in the state and see how issues of insecurity can be put on the table and can be solved. Okay. So because he identified that every, you know, leader has a very important role to play when it comes to security and peace. And so with them, some of the state governors who are trying to say they are going into negotiations with bandits today, terrorists, people that have been known to be killing people over the years, I don't think it is right, and it contradicts our standard, our current security operations. The modus operandi of our national security does not, you know, welcome these patterns of negotiations. Except we will begin to hold the state governors accountable, those governors who claim that they know the people, they know where to negotiate with them. I think we should begin to hold them accountable that they are also part and parcel, or we should also tag them as accomplices. Because if you know the problem that are people that are creating problem in your state, then the problem is half solved. Why do you now have to go and negotiate? I'm surprised that in years back, we know people, we know where they are, we know how to go and negotiate with them, they even took pictures with them, and then you'll be surprised that those people who they took pictures with them and they have been looking for them. We see even some of our police officers have been messed up in accompanying some of those clerics to the bush. And the people you are looking for, people you want to go and arrest, are here. And you never arrested any of them. And I tell you that some of those people are not even the citizens of this country. So it will have a problem. But this is not to say that when there's a problem in terms of governance, when there's a problem in your state, when you know very well that perhaps the youths are not happy, when you know very well that there's a lot of, you know, unemployment in your state, when you also as a governor knows that you have failed, not by way of not utilizing your security votes for the purpose of security and safety, peace in your state, you can also adopt other, you know, means to dialogue with the natives, the citizens, and to know what exactly the problems are.
Okay, Dr. Noja.
Not non-state actors, people you don't even know where they're whereabouts, exactly. You don't know where they are coming from.
In fact,
how do you negotiate with them?
All right then. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Noja. You know, at the top I had introduced also, you know, Dr. Kabir Adamu. He will be joining us, MD, Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited. A fine morning to you, Dr. Adamu. Thank you very much for making yourself available for us this morning.
My pleasure, Uncle Yori. Good morning.
Okay, so we've started the conversation, but I started off by wanting to know the circumstances under which we would arrive at what we have now, which is an expert, special advisor to Governor Ahmed Aliyu, retired Colonel Ahmed Usman, stating that they are considering in Sokoto negotiating actually is the word, negotiating with terrorists there, where there had been, incessant incidents of, killings and just generally terrorizing the people. Now, it seems like you don't really need, it almost seems like you don't need an expert to know that it's wrong. The law never negotiates with criminals, quote unquote. So I had asked Dr. Onoja, under what circumstances might there be an inversion of that rule, such as we seem to be having if a whole state government, no less, Sokoto in this state, not that it's the only one, is saying that it is considering negotiating with these people. I guess the question to you, let me put the same question to you I put to Dr. Onoja, which is under what circumstances would this kind of a situation come into being? What is it that makes us now go the counterintuitive way of negotiating with outlaws?
All right. So there is precedence. Sokoto State is not the first state to, put out this willingness, as it were. There is already a model that, for all intents and purposes, is working. And our dear president, when he visited Kaduna, referred to the model. So this is the Brunungwari model that was commenced by both the Kaduna State Governor and then I think the federal government too, probably through the Office of the National Security Advisor. And then more importantly, the community, based on what we've heard from the Governor of Kaduna State, Senator Obasani, he said it was the community in Brunungwari that came to him and told him that they have commenced discussions with the non-state actors, bandits in particular, that had ravaged the state. Now, for a very long time, the state has, especially that part of the state, Brunungwari, has been under the threat of these non-state armed groups, to a point where livelihoods had been destroyed. Nobody in his right senses will travel on that particular route. And of course, that route is the route that most travelers use when they are going to southwestern Nigeria, including Lagos. So the economy of that local government was completely collapsed. And this was when El-Rufai was governor. Now, when Obasani took over, he said the community came to him and told him that the bandits had reached out to them, or they had reached out to the bandits, for whatever the circumstances, they've reached an agreement and they want the state to endorse it. So I think the state government and the federal government entered, to the point where today livelihood has been restored in that local government. Markets have opened, and we hear that things are thriving. The economy that was almost comatose for almost 10 years is now beginning to thrive. So that's the model.
That's the model. Okay, I tell you what. One moment, please, Dr. Adamu. I've got to take a quick break now, but I'm going to come straight back to you because you've just joined us, and I want to milk that question a bit more. Do please stay with us. We'll be right back.
In tourism, let us commit again at the Travel Indaba as Africans to build an inclusive, sustainable and a resilient sector, one that lifts up our communities, that bridge borders and protects our shared heritage in the continent.
It's a pan-African travel show which brings the world to us, but mostly Africans, to actually have B2B meetings or business-to-business meetings with other African SMMEs or tour operators. And the value chain of tourism is highly impacted during this period because we get to sign deals, you get to explore our destinations, besides just having meetings.
Okay, welcome back. We're looking at, the general topic is Sokoto State government defends its decision to negotiate with terrorists, maybe I should put that a bit more correctly, it is considering negotiating with terrorists. Immediately there have been, outrage. There has been outrage. For instance, a security expert in Sokoto, Basharu Altine Guyawa, has said that that's a dance too far. His thinking being that, if we're not careful, they will overrun us. We have our guests, two experts, Dr. Jonathan Onoja, security expert, and Dr. Kabir Adamu, MD, Beacon Security and Intelligence, that I interrupted as we went to that break. And I was hearing you as you were explaining it, Dr. Adamu, but whatever happened to the coercive power of state? I know, because on more than one occasion you've explained to us the nature of the warfare that we are dealing with here. That is not conventional warfare, and so it becomes a bit more difficult to talk about the coercive power of the state, because when the state is in that mode, it usually is dealing with an external enemy. But my problem here is that it doesn't look very good, does it? Even as we are being told that there might be extenuating circumstances where this could be a shortcut to a desired objective, all other things being equal. But we haven't had very much joy in the past, as I think you also have alluded to, in the case with Rufai when he was governor. So that's my main worry there. It doesn't make us look good, but is that an emotionalism that is not as important as the ultimate objective of returning peace, even if, this is, a strange way for most people who don't know anything more than O-level government and the way states are organized, to say that, what? You mean a bunch of bad guys, they can become so powerful that the state has to say, you know what, sit down, let's talk about it.
Okay, I don't think that's the driving notion. I don't think it's because they've become so powerful. From my understanding, it's not an all or one situation. It's a combination of several factors. The kinetic warfare is ongoing. It's putting pressure on them. And like in the case of Buhari, it is because of the pressure that made them open, as it were, to finding a solution. There are several theories out there: the military theory, the social theory, even the economic theory. But the bottom line is that the kinetic measure is a good one. We must contain the violence, and we must negotiate, if at all we're going to negotiate, from the point of view of strength. A good example is what's going on between Iran and the United States and Israel. U.S. bombed the nuclear sites in Iran, but it's still asking Iran to come and sit down and let's negotiate. So it's using the kinetic force, but it has also left the negotiation option, as it were, open, but with the condition that Iran, as an example, would never acquire nuclear offensive capability. Having said that, I must also state that the concept of disarmament, demobilization, reintegration, and sometimes you add both repatriation and resettlement. These are UN concepts that have been used in conflict resolution. And so it is not strange in Nigeria that in trying to bring this, especially the development aspect of the conflict, to an end, that we're discussing DDR as an option, demobilizing them and finding a solution to it. But the challenge, which I must mention, is the fact that there can never be peace without justice. And this is part of the issues that have arisen from the Buhari experience. There have been one or two instances where it's faltered, and it's because justice is not in place. So we must, Katsina is doing that right now, thinking about 3 or 4 local governments, and then Sokoto has also indicated that it's open to it. I think Zamfara too has indicated it's open to it. We must ensure that the mechanisms for justice for the victims are also put forward. If we only focus on the perpetrators and give them these options and do not address the justice component, then it's just where the effect will not be felt. We're likely to see, a reversal at some point in time. But to summarize what I've said, it's an internationally recognized option, DDRR or DDR, depending on what you want to say. The UN advocates it. It's been used elsewhere. It's worked. But the precepts, the conditions include justice for the victims as well.
Indeed. Okay, Dr. Onoja, coming back to you with that point where justice cannot be left out of this picture if it is going to be a successful operation. How challenging do you think that is? Because so many people will be requiring justice now, as you were alluding to earlier on, ranging from people who have had multiple members of their families wiped out or dealt with at the same time, ranging from mother to sister to daughter to brother, all of these people. So there's that debt. It's very heavy and it is overhanging. And as Dr. Adamu just said, it's an important point, isn't it? The whole concept of justice, because it's all right for you to be asking me to, play along, but that's not quite the expression I wanted. It's all right for you to ask me to be peaceful and, try and, forgive and forget and try and look at this whole situation with peace at the end of the day. How challenging do you think it is going to be to fulfill that condition that you no doubt know yourself, but Dr. Adamu just mentioned?
All right, thank you so much. Again, thanks to Dr. Adamu for also complementing my earlier points with respect to negotiation and also areas that it should come in. Earlier on I've told you that where I cited Zamfara State as an example, where I told you that, look, these issues are contextual. If you understand your problems, if you know the conflict in your Zooms and it's resolvable within the ample of the law, why not you engage them peacefully? And that's why I told you that the former governor of Zamfara State, Dr. Bello Matawale Mohammed, that was able to, use the carrot and the stick approach while he's still going on the ADR, the Alternative Dispute Resolution, to bring peace, a lasting peace to the state. He was still a bit, I think it was called the force, the kinetic approach to the non-state actors that actually made them to also surrender at a time. And that actually yielded result during his time, though, until we had a governor that relaxed all of this peace method. So the compensation approach, the justice approach to some of these issues is still within the state government. It's still something that is obtainable. Like I said, it is contextual. You won't believe that the man who the wife has just been killed, right, should come on the table with you to discuss with the man that killed the wife. And so these things are contextual, and we must place it in what context we now, come to negotiate. Over 2,000 persons are already killed in Zamfara State. 500 persons abducted, including male and young children. So men and women and young children already abducted, according to Amnesty International report. And so if what happened in Kogi State is quite different, if what happened in Benue State is quite different, if what is happening in Zamfara is quite different, if what is happening in Katsina, in Sokoto are different, then I've often said that we cannot use any move of negotiation with bandits. They have come out openly and they have said, we do not actually go with these models. But if there are other models that is, adopted and done within the model that is, adopted and done within the state and is giving them result, kudos to them.
Okay, then. Well, I'm going to take it from what you've just said, as I'm going to Dr. Adamu now. I'm going to take it that it's not, my question was, did he envisage challenges in fulfilling that part of the equation, justice? And it's explained that, look, there's no one-liner. There's no one-liner answer to that question. A lot will depend on the circumstances of that very environment. Now, the question that might then come to mind is that, okay, so it's a complex matter. How does one now explain this to the nation, the people, that we're going this seemingly counterintuitive way because of the complex mix that we've just heard spoken about by an expert here? Because it is a counterintuitive, isn't it? It is counterintuitive, isn't it?
So again, it depends on how you look at it. The truth of it is, and again, I would refer to our president. When he visited Benue, he repeated the fact that we must, Giorgio, I think I'm quoting him almost verbatim, to resolve a lot of the conflict in Nigeria is identity-based. Most people don't realize that at the root cause of banditry in Nigeria, it's actually identity-based. And so for an identity-based conflict, these are people who feel aggrieved for one reason or the other. Now, their reason for feeling aggrieved may not be justified, but what is important is that is why they are fighting. And so if you are going to resolve the conflict, you must reverse that grievance. And what do I mean by that? I told you in the case of Buhari, what they wanted was access to the market. Something as simple as that. So a governor who, for instance, hears that the reason why some people pick up arms, again, I'm not justifying their action. I'm not saying that is why they're doing what they're doing, but that is what they said they're doing. And so if you grant them that access and then that leads to a resolution and peace is restored, like in the case of Buhari, then I think that's a win-win for everybody. But the danger, and I think that's where I would kind of focus in responding to your question, is the impression it gives that for any member of the society who is aggrieved to be listened or heard, he or she must pick a weapon. We saw it in the Niger Delta. It was a concern that emerged after late Yaradua commenced some form of negotiation with them, and we saw the amnesty program. We're seeing it in certain parts of the country, including the north at the moment. And so the danger for us as a country is to show that is not an option. Picking a weapon and fighting the states, killing Nigerians must have consequences. And so even when programs like this, negotiation are carried upon, those who commit crime within the ambit of whatever it is they're doing, banditry, farmer herder violence, cattle rustling, they must be punished by the state. And I think Indeed. For us to achieve a long-lasting peace, we must strengthen that. So in other words, in the summary, what I'm saying is that our criminal justice system must be strengthened to identify offenders, to arrest those offenders, and then to punish those offenders, irrespective of their religion, identity, or political affiliation. Now, the challenge at the moment is that some people get away with crime, either because of their religion, or because of their ethnic affiliation, or because of their political affiliation, as it were. So if the criminal justice system is strengthened to deal with that, then I think we can get out of it. Now,
okay.
If, for instance...
so I beg your pardon. I must take a caller. I'm so sorry for interrupting you. Mazi Okorafo, good morning to you, sir. I wonder if Mazi can hear us.
For a new week. Sorry. Now, there's no need of negotiating with any terrorists in this country. Because, one, you have killed people, you have destroyed their livelihood, you have destroyed the environment, you have sent some people widows and widowers, and you say you are coming to negotiate. That is why I used to tell people that, look, it is better for us to take that international community way of handling terrorism in this country. Because I see no reason why people we see that they have power of all terrorizing human beings. That's why I like one Yoruba lady one time that was talking on the United Nations Summit. He said nobody in this world has monopoly of war destruction. Nobody in this world has monopoly of destroy or saying that it is ultimate.
Violence.
Honestly speaking. And she said the point blank that anybody going to destroy people's property and they say that you come back. So, now,
yeah, but
face the consequence according to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under terrorism.
Mazi, if you've been following us, both our experts have explained that there can be extenuating circumstances, because that's where I started this conversation from. What are those extenuating circumstances that make this a viable option? Because the intuitive mode, as you are saying right now, is that there's no need of negotiating with outlaws. But both our experts have explained that it's not a simple thing, and that there's no one answer or one size fits all by way of response, but that there actually can be circumstances under which this might be the way to go.
Problem for Nigerians. Many people cannot go to farm. Many people cannot see everywhere IDPs. Do you know the number of IDPs are getting more than the number of students in the school? Is that how we're going to do? So speaking, government should stop negotiating, because as you continue to negotiate, another group of terrorists will be migrating from different angles, creating more problems for Nigeria. We cannot tolerate that negotiating. No, the terrorism negotiation.
All right, then.
The consequences are going to be that.
Okay, Mazi Okorafor, like most Nigerians, livid at the whole notion that are these people not called, are they not called non-state actors? Are they not called outlaws? Are they not called terrorists? Then where do we get decent people sitting down? And even our guests have referred to that I don't see any serious government sitting down willingly and discussing with these people. But it might, what I'm hearing here is that it might be one of the ways to go if it is going to, without letting up the heat. I think they've made that point that it's not as if we just fold our arms and say, okay, you are running the affairs now. But we've got to, what I am learning from this conversation is that we've got to, have a situation where we are still engaging them, to see what can come out of it. But they are here and they can speak for themselves. So I think I was with, I was with Dr. Adamu. Now, Dr. Onaja, how long, because time is everything, how long do you think it will take us to right this situation? And by writing the situation, what I'm meaning is what you've been talking about. No one size fits all. How long do you think it will take, especially for the issue of justice that both you gentlemen have already mentioned, will also be featured centrally in the operation, in the ongoing conversation, because justice is tremendously important.
All right, thank you. I've often said that our criminal justice system must wake up to their responsibilities, because it's quite unfortunate in this part of the world. You will hear a case of murder, somebody kills somebody, or even a clear case of terrorism. Yet you will see a judge tell you, okay, it's 10 years imprisonment, or with an option of fine, right? With an option of fine, maybe 1 million naira. Man, how much is equivalent to life? I mean, how much can we invest to say this is what is consuming to someone's life that is wasted either in the farm, wasted on the road, killed for no just reason, or burnt to ashes? Yeah. So we must also go back to the National Assembly to strengthen our laws that we explicitly said for case of terrorism. I know a lot of reforms have happened, but we still need to do more, that in an issues of terrorism, clear case and established cases of terrorism, this and this should be done. And that's why we still have people, even after committing these heinous crimes, will be in detentions for 3, 4, 5, 7 years. They will be filled with our taxpayers' money. They will be fed there, and maybe after 10, 15, 20 years, you will see some sets or some groups again regroup and break into such facilities to free them. I refer to the case of the Kuje prison now.
Indeed.
A lot of persons were,
one moment, please, Dr. Onaja. Forgive me for interrupting, but AIG Olatoye, retired, has called in from Lekki and wants to join the conversation. Good morning to you, sir. AIG Olatoye, retired. AIG Olatoye, retired. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah.
If you can hear us, we're waiting for you. Good morning.
Oh, Jesus.
We can hear you. I can hear you. AIG Olatoye retired. I can hear you. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Very well. Very well. Very well.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Olatoye Durosimi, AIG retired.
Okay.
My contribution is that there should be no negotiation with terrorists.
Okay.
Because once you negotiate with a group, another set of group will come, and before you know what is happening, more and more group will come for the fact of collecting money. Rather than that, there should be amnesty. If the governor wants amnesty program, it should bring them together. If they repent, they can rehabilitate them. But what is important mostly is that there should be jobs. Agriculture should be embraced. And government of that state should ensure that youths are fully engaged in agriculture, like what is done in Kebbi State, where most of young people are into rice farming.
Okay.
Sokoto state government should engage youths in agriculture and ensure that the police is properly supported to do their work.
Okay, thank you very much, AIG Olatoye Durosimi, for calling in. Appreciate your call. Actually, our time has been fast spent, but I want to thank you both gentlemen. Let me just bring one question. I think it's coming out of what the AIG retired just said. Once you allow, under whatever the rationale, notice I didn't say excuse, whatever the rationale for it, once you allow this to happen, it only encourages other groups to say that, look, you see that other group, they got what they wanted, this is how they went, we have to go that way as well. So very briefly, starting with Dr. Adamu, what do you think about this particular concern that the AIG Durosimi retired just contributed?
It's a valid concern, and I hinted at it in my earlier remarks. But if we follow the precepts, the steps under the DDRR as the UN has recommended, and with experts who understand the process of DDR, then hopefully we'll avoid that. We must also strengthen the justice system. But before I go, let me quickly correct an impression. The federal government is actually involved. If we go by what the governor of Kaduna has stated publicly, then the federal government is involved in the negotiation.
Very quickly, briefly, sir, Dr. Onoja, how would you comment on that concern that you let this go, others will show up?
Of course, it's a valid point, like my colleague also has mentioned. However, I think we should find a best way of approaching these issues. We must not all the time go kinetic. While we will not go kinetic, there were other approaches that we also have to adopt.
Okay,
and
I'm afraid
also mentioned that
we completely run out of time. We've completely run out of time, Dr. Jonathan.
Okay. Let me make my point.
Very quickly, please. Go ahead.
Let me just make my point.
Yes.
Okay. And so, like he rightly mentioned, that engaging the youth in Kebbi State into agriculture has also been one of the solutions to some of the problems. And which I earlier mentioned that same thing was adopted under the then governor of Zamfara State, Governor Matawale, during his time from 2019 to 2023. So I think governors also should begin to utilize their security votes properly for the purpose of security, engaging the police, and also mobilizing the youths.
The clock has run out. Thank you very much, Dr. Jonathan Onoja, and also appreciation to you, Dr. Kabir Adamu. I want to thank you both gentlemen for coming on the program this morning to sort of help us illuminate this particular issue. That's our program. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.
Niger, it's time to rise to victory because season 10 is here.
That you did not come and greet. I'm coming for the crown.
Nigerian Idol needs to bang.
You're actually my idol.
Say yes from me. That was good.
I'm here for a revenge.
I'm speechless.
10 seasons of unforgettable talent,
That's the best performance I've had today.
10 seasons of breathtaking performances. And this year, we celebrate the journey like never before.
I'm actually speechless.
I love you.
You're a superstar.
This is more than a competition. It's a celebration of music, passion, and dreams. It's your voice and your victory. Don't miss the biggest season yet. Nigerian Idol Season 10.
Sponsored by Biggie for every moment.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
This Salah, don't just celebrate smart with ShopX TV. For a limited time only, enjoy up to 50% off our best-selling products. That's thousands of naira in savings, but only while stock lasts. Let's kick things off with the ultimate kitchen game changer, the CookX Air Fryer Oven. This is not just an air fryer, it's a rotisserie, a deep fryer, a dehydrator, a grill, an oven, and even a microwave, all in one compact unit. Buying all these separately could cost you over 1.5 million naira. But today, you can get the CookX Air Fryer